everybody and welcome to my channel. My name is Anusha and in this video I'm going to talk about IELTS writing. It's the hardest nut to crack, to be honest. Many people struggle in this section. They end up getting 5, 5.5. In my channel you'll find videos related to English and also some other tips and tricks to crack your PTE and IELTS test. On top of that, we also do NAATI classes. IELTS writing is divided into academic and general. So if you are taking academic writing, please watch the full video. If you are taking general writing, I'm afraid task 1 is unrelated and I'll do another video in the coming days for general writing. However, you can get some hints for task 2. The entire writing section in both academic and general is 60 minutes. And there are 2 tasks, task 1 and task 2. Now you can do task 2 before doing task 1. It's absolutely fine. We also recommend that because task 2 has more marks, double the marks than task 1. So in the order of the tasks, let me tell you how we're going to approach and what are the things that you must do. Many students complain that they don't get enough time to check, proofread their work, and I absolutely understand why, because the data that you see in the charts, they might be quite complicated to comprehend, and while you are writing the paragraphs you might not have enough time to check. But make sure before going to your test you do some mock tests. Also remember, it's the quality that matters, as proof checking can incorporate many things from spellings to punctuation. Well, many times we know the spellings, but when we write or when we type, they might be wrong, especially when you have double L's, double N or C's. Yeah, for example, in the word occasion is a double C or single C. In terms of punctuation, the frequently used punctuations are comma and full stops. If you want to get higher bands, it's recommended that you also use some brackets and semicolons. If you don't know how to use them, then don't use them wrongly. You can also research these rules and start writing. After punctuation and spellings, you also have grammar. Now in terms of grammar, make sure that your tenses are correct, you are not writing run-on sentences, you follow a consistent grammar pattern. Before I move on to the further details, let me tell you that there are 4 marking criteria that you need to adhere to. Let's talk about task response first. Task response means answering the questions. If they have asked you to write both advantages and disadvantages and you ignore one of them, then you've not fully achieved the task requirement. So make sure if they've asked you to write advantage, disadvantage, you do so. If they've asked you to give a solution, you do so. And if they've asked you to give your opinion, you also do so. If you don't, that's where you lose the marks. Another pointer is explaining. If you have just said I believe ... and you've not explained why, you will also get less marks in task response. Because if you just say I believe ... and you're not able to explain in words, they will find out that you cannot elaborate your answer and you're not good at writing. Stick to your argument. If you say you believe, then you cannot in the middle say I don't believe. You have to make sure that you are consistent throughout your essay and in your conclusion as well. After task response, we have coherence and cohesion. Now this is something that we need to understand more closely because that's where we sometimes make mistakes or use improper cohesive devices. Now let me first explain what cohesive devices are. We must have heard of but, however, while, despite, in addition to. Yeah, these are called cohesive devices. They're unlimited words and phrases that you can use as cohesive devices, and that's what they are looking for. You're not repeating them, you're not just saying also, and but. You are using a variety of them. Cohesion basically means that each sentence is related to each other and your paragraphs are also related to each other, and you're not just writing randomly. Is it forced writing? That's something that they don't like. They don't like forced writing, like you don't memorize some of them and then you go ahead and type them. So don't do that. Make sure that it flows well with the previous sentences, and your paragraphing is perfect too. One way is to introduce your paragraph with a topic sentence instead of straight away giving your point. Whenever you go to the next paragraph, you can also say another way or one more point. On the contrary, those are also very essential. The third point is lexical resource. Now, lexical resource is another way or a fancy way of saying vocabulary. Vocabulary is something that sometimes haunts us. We know the words, but we don't know how to use them, or sometimes we lack the words to express our feelings. Choice of words must be accurate and again natural, not like you have memorized a few words and you really want to add them in your essay. It doesn't make sense, but you've just added them for no reason. The examiner will pick it up real soon and they'll say, okay, this is forced writing. The key to improving your vocabulary is by reading as much as possible, going through the words that are difficult and making sure that you use them normally in your daily life by talking to your friends, your family, or whoever you encounter. The last point, but not least, is grammatical range and accuracy. Now, it's not just grammar that we need to focus on. For example, when I say people go out, it's grammatically right. But isn't it so simple? When you write simple sentences, the examiner will put you down to 5.5 and 6 band. That means if you have a mixture of simple and complex sentences, they don't like it. They will just say, okay, this guy just deserves 6 maximum. That too, depending on the other 3 criteria. If you are targeting higher band, you've got to use complex and compound sentences. So instead of saying people like to do bungee jumping, you can say people from all walks of life enjoy activities like bungee jumping. Even better would be people from all walks of life enjoy a variety of adventurous sports like bungee jumping. See, it just instantly lifted up your grammatical structure, not just accuracy. Accuracy is another thing, but grammatical range is different. When you just keep writing, I do this, I do that, it's a little poor writing. Rather, you have to use words like although, despite, and these advanced structures. So, those are the 4 criteria that you need to meet in order to get higher bands, and each of them contribute 25% to your final score. What I recommend is focusing on your strengths rather than your weaknesses. If you enhance your vocabulary that you are good at, you will get higher band there, and that will automatically pull you up in the band score as they do the average. Even if you get less band in one of the criteria but the rest of them are good enough, you will get more marks. Task 1 in academic writing is a report writing where you have to write a minimum of 150 words, and if you don't cross that mark, they actually manually check. It's a human examiner who's going to check you, and they really literally check every word. So don't take any risk. Please make sure you have a minimum of 150 words because that can bring you down in the band score. For example, if you write a single word as 2 words like well and known, if you have a space in between, they count it as 2 words and it's also grammatically wrong. So be careful with that. In terms of the timing, we recommend taking 20 minutes, but if possible, less than that is even much better. As I said, there's less marks than task 2. There are 7 types of questions that you might encounter in your test, and if you know them all, it becomes easier to prepare, and also you won't have any surprises in the test. The first one is bar graph, then pie chart, line chart, maps. We can also get flow charts, diagrams, and tables. So prepare them well. Generally, the first paragraph must be the paraphrasing of the question itself and all the legends that they provide, like males, females, country-wise, date-wise. So all of the information that you can see at your first glance must be in your paragraph number 1. Second paragraph will be your overall idea. When you see the picture for the first time, what is the major trend that you can see, or the minor trend that you can see, or what pops up the most? And it's also recommended not to use any numbers in your paragraph number 2. The third and the fourth paragraph are where you are comparing the real data. Many times students are simply listing the data and not comparing them at all. Comparing will give you extra marks, guys, and when you don't compare, they will know that you don't have enough knowledge or vocabulary to do so. So that will bring you down. So comparison is important. Let's go to task 2 now. Task 2 is regarding the essays. The total word count for the task 2 is 250 minimum, and there's no maximum limit, so you can write as many words as you can after 250 has been crossed. But it's recommended that you stick to 280, and one reason is the exam is time bound, so obviously you can't write 1000 words in 40 minutes. Now essays can be of various types too, and we need to practice all of them. The first one would be agree and disagree. When you are agreeing or disagreeing to certain trend, they give you a question and they ask you, to what extent do you agree or disagree, or do you think the government must implement strict rules, blah blah blah. So these are the questions which ask your opinion or wants you to explain your viewpoint. The second type is advantages and disadvantages, where they might also ask you your opinion. So the questions might be, what are the pros and cons, and do you think ... As I said, task response is important. You must give the pros, you must give the cons, and it's not just one pro or one con. You have to make it plural because they're asking you pros and cons, and plus you give your opinion as well and elaborate them. Examples are one way to strengthen your argument. Examples do not have to be real life examples. You can create your own examples. Make the examples specific and relatable. Otherwise, there's no point of giving an example, and write them in grammatically correct way. The third type is problem solution. Obviously, they'll give you a problem, or they'll ask you what is the problem that is occurring in the world and ask you the solutions to it. They might not have the exact word as solution, so you need to infer from the passage whether they are asking you solutions or not. The next type of the essay is called discussion type. Discussion is where they're not asking you pros and cons, they're not asking you to solve anything, but they're asking you to discuss a statement or discuss two statements. That means you can take positive side or negative side or both, depending on what you believe in. So rather than giving them pros and cons, you're supposed to discuss and come to a conclusion. In the discussion type, we don't want to give the opinion in the first paragraph, but discuss the points and then in the conclusion give your final verdict. The other type is called double questions. Now in double question type, they'll give you two questions. Now so far they were only asking you what is this and what is that, but now they will ask you, who do you think should be responsible, why do you think this is happening, when can we see the improvement, so all these when, what, why parts will come. How can we maximize the number of students in universities in foreign countries. So all those things, how, why, when, will be asked here, and it's in a form of double question. So make sure you answer both the questions in paragraph number 2 and paragraph number 3 with proper coherence. So with all these types of questions, remember, if you mix them or if you don't understand and you write a different one, that will also lower your band score. So let's revise a little bit. Task 1 and task 2, there are two tasks in the writing section, and task 1 is related to report writing and task 2 is an essay writing. Timing wise, 60 minutes altogether, 20 minutes for task 1 and 40 minutes for task 2. You can also do task 2 before task 1 if you like. There are 7 types of questions in task 1 and 5 types of questions in task 2. Look at all the question types, write them down, check it, make sure that your grammar is right, your vocab is there, and you are writing coherently. Your task response is there, meaning you are answering the questions properly with consistent viewpoints. And my final tip is write as much as possible. Another way to improve your writing is reading articles by native writers. You can observe how they are writing, what kinds of structures they are using, how they are moving from one sentence to another sentence, from one paragraph to another other paragraph, the introduction and the conclusion, and you can copy them as well, but not forcefully. It has to be as natural as possible because the examiner will spot that if you are writing it forcefully. This is Anusha and I'm signing out for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any other questions related to IELTS, please feel free to write them down in the comment section. This is Anusha signing off for today. But wait, have you hit that subscribe button? Because if you haven't, you'll miss some videos in the upcoming weeks because I'll be posting videos every week to add value in your exam preparation. I'll see you next time. Take care.